Hey, great day to you all. I hope that you've all woken up super grateful to be alive again another day in this experience. And I hope you've set that high vibe for yourself, telling yourself all of those amazing things that you needed to hear this morning. Like you're strong, you're smart, you're beautiful, you're capable. You're going to flow like water over rocks today with great ease and great force. I apologize that I came out a little late for you all this morning, but my walk is done and I had prior engagements this morning, so early. So the live had to be pushed a little later for you all. Guys, let's talk about it, man. I have had so many questions about powers and principalities and really what does it mean when somebody's got power over you? Well, I'm going to get into it today with some real raw truth like I give it to you all the time. Now, actually, you are governed by powers and principalities until you own your own. Yeah. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what your name is. Doesn't matter what your credentials or your accomplishments have been. It doesn't matter. None of that shit matters. What matters is if you're in alignment with your true power and the true principles of that power. And until you're not, well, then you are governed by the powers and principalities of everything else but you. Guaranteed. But we'll get into it. Because I love to drop it real and raw for you all. Loaded with truth. But I can sit here and communicate to you all that I want. And all that I'm instructed to do. But your comprehension level and your cap of comprehension will dictate whether you understand it or not. And that has nothing to do with me. And that also will tell you a lot whether you're still dictated by the powers and principles of this planet. Or if you're in alignment with your own power and your own principles. How do I know this? Because I'm finally in my power and governed by the principles of it. So it's very different than being governed by the powers and principles of this planet. So what are the powers and principles of this planet? Well, look at it. Is any of it loving? But everybody's putting their life force into it. And everybody is governed by it. So therefore, they have the power over you. Because you give them the power over you. So, powers and principalities. Yes, there's lots of powers and principalities going on. Well, how do you see that? You see it through TV. What do you see on TV? Commercials, brainwashing you to eat junk. All of these drama, bullshit love stories that are non-existent. They are these, look at the shit that you're consuming on TV. Well, as long as you sit there and watch TV, that TV and the powers and principles of what it's programming into you will govern you. You've given that power over you. Because even watching the news, you've given it power over your mind. How? Because you believe whatever you're seeing. Yeah. But what's behind all of that power and principality? Do you not realize TV programming? Programs. You're watching programs. How clear and how truthful in plain sight is that? You are being programmed to believe what is being shown to you. So therefore, if you're being programmed to see and believe what's being shown to you, you are giving that power over you. So when you talk about powers and principalities, yes, there's a lot of powers and principalities ruling this planet. And there's about, 100 families that are actually in control of it all. And all of the money is staying there. You see, wealth doesn't leak down. It remains with the elite and those who acquire it. There's a huge gap in between those who are financially secure and those aren't. But when you are in your power and governed by your principles, currency doesn't matter. Or the powers and principles of this planet. They don't matter. How do I know? Because I'm there. There's nothing that can penetrate and program me at all. You see, and somebody asked me, powers and principalities, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it means, look, you're governed by powers and principalities until you're not. Principles of what they want to be governed and be in control and hold your power to. So they've got you slaving, feeding the economy, making you believe you need all of this stuff that you don't, making you ingest all kinds of poison because you believe you have no other option. That is power over you. Well, there's a lot more simpler things to have power over you that you may not even realize. But this morning, I'll tell you about it. So what does it mean when people have power over you? Well, you comply to the government's laws and things because you believe you must. So therefore, they have power over your belief systems and your governance of your being. But it doesn't only have to do with government. It doesn't only have to do with, big major corporations that you've given your life force to. What do I mean by that? Well, when you're going out there slaving for your buck and then you're trying to buy these big wig things, these big name things, and just feeding into big corporations, you are actually not only going and slaving for that 1/3 of change you're getting, but then you're also turning around and feeding big corp. So this is what they want you to do. So they want you to give your power to slaving for your money, then paying it back into the systematic of principles and power. Yes, but take it down a notch. People have power over you until they don't, even in your own family. Yeah. You don't realize it. Or maybe you're running unaware. But how many people comply to expectations of others because it is family? Well, they have power over you then. How do they have power over you? They live in your head rent-free. They occupy your brain, so they therefore are stealing from your creative power. Number one. Number two, when you're deciding things for yourself, how are they influenced? Are they influenced by you being in alignment with your power and your reinstalled principles for your own being? Or are they governed by everything else but you? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, hey, generational belief systems, traditional belief systems, your embedded schooling that was all lies. If you were exposed to religion and forced into it as a small child, well, all of those belief systems too. Anything that anybody's opinion around you in your family has to say or do, it all governs you. All of it. That's why I'm such a powerful being, because I've taken my power back in completion. Nothing governs me but me. There's no belief systems. There's no traditions. There's nothing governs me but the power and principle that's fueling me. That's it. There's not anybody living in my head rent-free. There's no fucking way. I will not give my life force to any person, place, or thing. No way. This is why I cut soul ties and bonds, and I call my power back every night before I lay down. Why? Because I may not wake up the next morning. Factually. No, tomorrow's not promised to anybody, eh? So yes, I call my power back to me. From every soul contract, every agreement, I call my protection back. I cut all ties every single night before I lay down and go close my eyes. No matter what. Because there is no governance of people, places, and things that will hold the power over me. ever. Ever. There's only one thing that governs me. Source. Source. Source of life. Creator. Most High. What do you want to call it? You want to call it the universe? You want to call it Allah? You want to call it God? You want to call it whatever the fuck you want to name it. That's what I'm governed by. That's the power that fuels me, and that's the principles that are governing me, is through that power. So there are a lot of principles that come attached to being in alignment with that power. Yes, there is. And they are very different than what you are all governed by. Very much so. Because I am universal love and the power of it. Simply that. I have, you know what, I do not get up every day with a name that I have to back with a reputation or a people-pleasing nature or anybody living in my head rent-free or my body being all distorted and in chaos and in confusion. None of that. Because in alignment with the power and the principles of what's fueling me, of the true governance of every one of our beings, hey, it's universal love. Perfect design. Knows no boundaries, knows no limits, knows no restrictions. All is an unconditional, infinite, eternal, everlasting love. Yeah. And there are principles of it. You must love yourself in completion in order to fully embody your full power. And when I say your full power, I mean that you have taken your kundalini, your life force, and intentionally fueled it through your being by removing the restrictions. Because there are restrictions in your flow, like a dam, until you remove the principles and the power of everybody else governing your being. Literally. There is not one power or principle on this planet that governs me other than the Most High and what is fueling me from within. And there never will be. Because I am in alignment with my power and the principles of that power. You must love yourself unconditionally, without any negativity. Literally. You must harness the experience for what it is, for the learning within it. This is why it's life experience. Every day is a brand new day. Anything that you consciously create, you will feel the effects of within this. You're a creator. Once you've found the power and principles of the creator within you, well, you know everything that is not of that magnitude very clearly. Yes, you do. So what does it mean also too when people have power over you? Well, when you're going to make a decision for yourself in your life, how many people do you call to talk about it with? How many people do you allow to govern your choices? Whether it's, oh, well, my parents wouldn't like this, so I'm not going to do it. Or, you know, well, because this is the way it's been traditionally, I must do it like that. What the fuck is going on here? We got a new earth, people. Frequency of it. 432 hertz. It's love hertz. It's funny. Yeah, I gotta laugh because that love tattoo, oh my God, did that hurt. Yes, it did. I can't even play. Yo, why did I put it there on that topic to lighten this subject up a little bit? Well, I tell you, I took the most painful place to put a tattoo and I put love there. So I induced love in the most painful way. On purpose, with intention. Yes, I did. Because where there is pain, you just must infuse love all the time. and it overrides all. And, you know, these are the powers and principalities that I'm governed by. Is by the universal love that's flowing through me. And I've had to endure so much pain in my life in order to actually embody so much love. Yes. You know, being able to endure what I can has been able to open me up to a great frequency of power and the principles of it. You see? And guys, you know, on that note, you're not going to battle powers and principalities more than you will battle your own being, because of the powers and principalities that are locked inside of you and all of these belief systems that they exist and that you're governed by them. When you stop believing that you need people's opinions or validation or acceptance or anybody's kind of, you don't look for it. No, you don't. There's no power or principle that governs me other than the principles and powers of the whole universe. And I can proudly say it. You know, I don't get up in the morning thinking about anybody but my day. Not even. I don't even think about my day until I'm well into it. I don't think. I get up, I know what I gotta do, and I flow. So what is my flow? Feel love over worry, people. All the time. You are love first. You were born as a ball of love before you believed your name. Well, that's the truest power and principle of your being. That's your highest potential. The way you were born. There's nothing wrong with you. You've just been governed by powers and principles that are unloving. And that's all it means. And what is this? Generational belief systems, if you haven't corrected them? Come on, we all know how unloving it felt to live certain things. Well, you had to live those to know how it felt, so you will correct it for what's to come. You know, things don't just happen to us to happen to us. It's supposed to make us better beings. And it sounds crazy, but yes, to the depth of the magnitude of what you had to endure, you already knew you were going to live it. You're just unaware of that. Yeah, and that's in your power and principles. When you tap into this power and you're aligned with it, come here, big head. Come here. Come here. She's got a sticky thing on her tail. Come here. You see what happens? Oh, Jesus. See what happens? Okay, go. It's off now. Yeah. So I just had to pull some hair off my dog's tail from these mice traps. See what happens? When you want to be nosy, don't come kiss me and smile like, you know? Stay away from those things. I told you. Now you really know, eh? Crazy pup. Old girl. Yeah. So, yes, belief systems. This is why I talk about, look, if you took a pen and paper right now and took a minute, 1 minute, to write down everything that you believe to be right about yourself, right now, good and bad, what you deem to be good and bad, because in my power and principle and in alignment with it, there is no good and bad. It's all learning, and it's all relevant to my learning. So my governance of my being is very different than the governance of any one of you listening. I can guarantee it. What do you believe to be right about yourself? Good and bad. So, you know, in that column of bad things that you don't really like about yourself, because I highly doubt that you like being shy. I highly doubt that you like being incapable or believing you are. I highly doubt that you enjoy feeling that you can't trust yourself. I highly doubt that you enjoy being governed by anything but you. Wow. I think it's time for you to get back into the alignment with the power of what's fueling you. And that is the farthest thing from what you've been governed by your whole life since you started believing your name. Yeah. And since you started believing that you can't do anything. Because had you believed when you were born that you couldn't roll over, you wouldn't have. Had you believed that you couldn't get back up from the first step that you tried to make and you fell, you wouldn't have. We had no belief systems, and that's why we made all possible. You wanted to walk, well, you did. You wanted to crawl, well, you did. Why? Because you wanted to grow and explore and learn more and more and more and more. You weren't governed by any powers and principalities, but the power of your own being. Because you didn't believe anything yet. Well, since you started to believe everything that your experience was telling you that was unloving, which was a distortion to this power and to the principles of it, well, since that distortion, a different pattern had set in. Yes, for you. It happened to me too, but I just corrected it. That's all. But, yeah, since you started believing anything, you've been governed by it, no matter what it is. Always seeking instruction. Why? Because we were made to believe that we must listen. Okay? Facts. By our parents first. Oh, listen. Think. That's a total distortion to the power and principles of your being to begin with. Totally. And a distortion to your creative power. Why? Because you started to be told, no, don't do that. And you started to be called your name. And you started to live experiences. But don't blame the experience for you not being in your full power and then in the governance and the principles of it. Why? Because it's all a choice, just like it, as if it was for me, because it was. So, yes, everything that you lived and believed is in the way of aligning with your fullest power and the potential of it, because there are principles that govern it. And within those principles, everything can happen. Yeah. I talk about the 12 universal laws all the time. And I've done many videos about it. But the truest first primary law is we're all one. And when we come into this experience, we are actually in our fullest potential and our power. No, we don't forget about it. We're made to believe we don't have it. And then we believe everything that has been installed into us. So, if your parents were running in survival, well, that's what you were, the pattern you were installed with, is surviving life. Yeah. And you've been operating on it since. Because that's your fundamental pattern. Doesn't matter what you do after that. You got to fix that. Because it really doesn't matter what you've lived since. There was a pattern that was put in there. And that has been governing your power and your principles ever since. Until it doesn't. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how much money you've made. Doesn't matter how successful you have been in such an unloving system. Not in my eyes, anyway. Because I'm governed by different powers and principles than you are. Proud to be, actually. So what's the greatest success you could acquire in this game of life? Well, considering that you all are putting all your life force into acquire things that you cannot take with you. No, you can't. You can't take none of that shit with you. The only thing you can take with you is the wisdom of the experience, should you be applying the learning. But if you're not open and clear and can acquire the lessons. You cannot apply the learning. So you cannot transmute it into fucking wisdom. And then you get stuck on repeat within this experience too. Well, this is why the ascension has to happen, and why nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop it. It's all the way up. It's all the way up. And yes, it's going to be tight, because Orion's belt, we got to pass it. Yeah. And if you guys don't know about that, go look it up. There's some homework for you all. Go and actually look up what's happening in the transition through Orion's belt. And that's going to fucking be the strainer for who makes it and who doesn't, eh? But everything's in perfect design. So yes, it's like the greatest show on earth and the greatest experiment ever known, because, you know, we all know coming into this density that it's going to be hard. This is the hardest planet to live in. But Mother Earth is suffering so hard that the whole universe feels it. So they had to step in. And this has been in alignment and in the works for a long time. It's 1,000 years of peace coming now. So anything that's not peaceful and loving, peace out. Ciao, 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 ciao. Let me know how that works for you. This is why I come out and I say, guys, get in alignment with frequency first. Doesn't matter who you are. And it doesn't matter what you've acquired. And the longer you have been putting your life force into feeding powers and principalities other than your own, as bad as you got to do the work to get in alignment with your power and your principles of it. Literally. And, you know, it's a simple choice. Everything is a free will choice. Everything is a choice. Do you know how many choices you make unaware? Yeah. Do you know how unaware you run during your day? Well, when you're driving your car and you get into your car and you know where you have to go and you just automatically drive there, but you're thinking about 101 different things. You're not thinking about your drive. You're just automatically driving. How many times have you gotten to where you're going and say, shit, I didn't even realize the drive. I'm already here. Because your mind was full. Well, how the fuck do you think that you drove there? Your subconscious brain got you there because it's running on a pattern. So once that pattern of driving is installed, it can do it on its own. Well, just like your belief systems and just like your ways of being, once that shit gets installed, it runs on its own. But if you're not taking a look at what's governing you, you'll never know. You'll never know what you give your power to in a day. Me, I'm very, I choose free will and choice what gets my power and what doesn't. There is not one person, place, or thing that occupies my brain space for free. Why would I do that? No. There is nothing of greater importance than me. So there'll be nothing that governs me but me and my boss. And I hope and pray that all of you guys can get to that point too. Because me, I don't play. I don't play with powers and principles of this planet. I am here to assist with a correction. Because, yes, people do the research. 1,000 years of peace will be on this planet now. Now, you either can be a peaceful, loving being, or you cannot be. Well, if you cannot be at peace with your own being, you cannot even sit with yourself, you cannot even look at yourself and correct the things that have power over you, well, then you're not in alignment. And you must be. It's all a choice. But I do understand that there is a lot that just aren't meant to make it. Because they just can't be loving. They can't get past everything that they believe. They can't get past all of the powers and principalities that are currently governing them. And I don't mean, listen, the biggest powers and principles that you're ever going to have to battle is your own. And what is that? You have to stand up for yourself within all of that shit you've been programmed with. You have to. Because nobody's coming to save you. Literally. It's all a choice. And the ascension of the planet it's happening, and it cannot be stopped by any person, place, thing, power, or principality. Because the truest power and principality is making it happen. And you all may think I'm nuts, and you all may have not taken me seriously for a year. But it's about time that you do. Literally. And get right with yourself. And look at the powers. What principles are you running on? Are you running on principles that were installed in you that should not be there? And what do I mean by that? Anything that's unloving. So were you made to believe that you didn't matter as a child? Because you were never heard? You were never... Why? Because we come from a generation that we were taught not to fucking speak unless we were spoken to. So how can that be not governing your life still? It is. You got to get past that. You got to speak your truth. You got to share your stories. You got to help others. And what also were we conditioned and empowered to believe? We must seek instruction. Seek instruction within yourself instead of outside of you to find the truest answers on your power and principality and the power you want to govern on. Because it's all a choice. And it doesn't, it's a choice. There's nothing that will govern me other than the powers and principles of the Most High and the love fueling every one of us. I'm finally in alignment with that. Finally. Healed, whole, individual, in my power. With correct, loving principles. Not just for me, but for all. That's what governs me. And nothing else will take my power or throw me out of that alignment. It doesn't happen. Because that's the state of being in which I operate from. On a daily basis, before any experience in this life. I don't wake up. Listen, put it this way. When I have a choice to make, I make it for myself. I don't call one person. I don't discuss it with one person. And I definitely don't talk about it with people. No. Because I do not let their opinions govern my choices or decision making. No, I don't. I own my power, the capacities of it, the principles of it, and I govern myself from it, knowing that all is possible because I'm breathing. Simple, 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 simple. I breathe, I'm possible, so therefore everything and anything is possible. Because as long as I'm breathing, that's all I need. Literally. To be one of the most powerful creators, because I am in the reflection of Source. I'm a divine expression of it. That's the power and principle that fuels me every day. Guys, take a look at what you believe to be right about yourself and what governs you. What are your morals? What are your principles? What are you running on initially? Forget everything else. Forget everything else. What's the everything else? Everything you've been told all your life, all of those belief systems that you had a hard life. Does it exist? Sitting here today with me right now, does any of that exist? No, it doesn't. It only exists in your own brain. Well, it's still governing you then. And you're giving it power over your life. So, is that what you choose for yourself? Because you'll definitely have chosen the effects of that also. Because anything that you think, say, and do, you cannot avoid or It has to do with the law of these principles that we're powered by. Anything that you push out has to come back at you. Anything. No matter what it is. It has to. So, if you've been having a hard life, and you're sick, and you are on all kinds of meds, and you just are comforting your chaos by numbing it all with anything possible, well, then you are definitely not in alignment with your power and the principles of it. And these are simple steps you've got to take to get in alignment with it. Like, first, you better take a look at your own being. Yeah. Guaranteed. With all of these changes that I had to make, it wasn't about anybody else. It was all about me. Yeah. All the time. Had nothing to do with anybody else. Everything starts from within. But within you, what is governing you? Is it your past life experience that's governing you? Because if it is, you're creating more of it. You can't avoid it because that's what's stored in your creative power. You see? Anything that you store within your creative power, you are creating on a daily basis. So that's why you got to go and look in that storage bank and remove any kind of unloving emotions because they are restricting you from your truest power of creation, of making everything and anything possible. You know, I'm not going to talk about it with names, but I am going to use the example because I have a friend that we'll keep it simple to keep the confidentiality. Yes. Okay. I have a friend who has had a tumor, who I have been exchanging energies with over the past couple of months. In May, when she went for her tumor tests, it had grown a centimeter. Well, since our energies have been interacting, we're August, she was cleared of the tumor. Okay? Cleared. It's gone. It no longer exists. This is why I say my power and principles that govern me is a healing, loving energy. I embody that on a daily basis. On purpose, intentionally. I consciously create my state to be the most powerful being that I can be on the planet. Why? To assist with healing for the planet. It's not a joke. I know the power of my being. And I know what I'm capable of. And yes, I hugged this person every day. Yes, I did, intentionally. I know what was going on and, whatever. I'm telling you, when you're in your power and you're in alignment with it, it heals all. Everything. But everything you believe but that is distorting that power. And it governs your life. So you have to make a clear-cut choice about whether you're going to step into your power or not. Now, what does that mean fully? Well, you have to rid yourself of anything your parents ever told you. You have to rid yourself of everything school ever told you. You got to rid yourself of any conditioning that's ever been programmed into you. You have to have zero belief systems about your own being. You have to totally annihilate the self to totally embody your full power. Yes. That's why I say I live selflessly. There's no Toby to please. There's a world to heal. On purpose. With intention. Okay? And that's what I do. On purpose. With intention. And I know how powerful my energy is. And a lot of people take it for a joke. But May, June, July, within 3 months of interaction with me on a daily basis, the tumor's gone. If that's not enough proof for you, what's possible within that power, I don't know what is. Well, you've seen it for yourself. I have come back better and stronger than I've ever been in my life. And people sit there and say, oh, well, you know, I'm going to be 50 this day, whatever. Listen, yes, I'm going to be 50 this year, but I am the strongest I've ever been in my life. Yes. After all of that's happened to me. Yes. But all of that had to happen to me so that I could actually embody the frequency that I do. And it's like the example that I give about making a bowl. You can't take a piece of wood. Look, you take a piece of wood and you're boring out a bowl, let's say, you're only going to be able to contain as much as you haul out, right? Well, with great pain, you can hold more love. So, the more pain that I've had to endure is the more love I can carry. So the more I endure is the more that I can take. You see? And I operate from love and the power of it on a daily basis by choice, because that's the truest governance of my being. That's how I was born. That's how all of you guys were born. But since then, you've been governed by powers and principles of everybody but yourself. And that's what I come out here and I tell you. By family, everything that was installed, by your experience, by everything that you believe to be right, by giving your power to everybody but yourself, allowing everybody else to make your decisions for you but what your heart is telling you. Your heart is the truest truth teller in your life. Why would you give the governance of your decisions, your opportunities, and your next step to anybody but your heart? Because if you're not staying true to that, you're not staying true to you. Ever. So, today, step into the power and principle of your heart. What is that truly? Don't allow anything unloving for yourself. Whether it's thoughts, whether it's speech, whether it's actions. Take a look at that. Take a look at your own being to see whether you are operating from the power of love or not. If you're stressed out, you're not. If you are anxious, you're not. Okay? Rid yourself of those things that you've adopted as a self-identity. Literally. That stuff doesn't exist. You're making it exist by believing it does. That's how powerful you are. You believe it's there, so it is. You believe you're restricted by it, so you are. You believe that you're in pain, so you amplify it. Literally. Gotta check out what you believe to be right about yourself and all of what's governing you. You know, before you make your next move in life, are you always looking back and asking everybody about their opinion? Are you worried about what everybody else thinks? Well, if you're worried about what anybody thinks, they have power over you. Because your decisions are based on what everybody else is worried about. Or what you're worried about. What's the biggest fear? You're worried about being judged. You're worried about not being loved. You're worried about not being accepted. Why? Because we were made to believe these things as children. Yeah, that we had to govern our being a certain way in order to be loved, to be accepted. We watched our parents, do what I say, not what I do. But yet we were installed with everything that they told us not to do because we believed and saw it to be real. You got to correct that. And if you don't, you're operated from it and governed by it, factually. Guys, anybody who really wants to step into the power and principles of their own being, I encourage you to look out for my mentorship program in September. Yeah, it's going to be a very intense program. I'm talking intense. I want quick results over a short period of time, and I want the rollover to be huge. In other words, what do I mean? I'm going to take a very small group, have very intense results, very much so in a very short period of time. Let the results speak for themselves, and then within a very, very short time, I'll take on another group. And that's how I've decided to do it. Instead of these long programs, no. It's going to be very short, very intense, very brutal. It's going to be brutal. You're going to run the gauntlet. And I'm not going to accept excuses, because these powers and principalities that have been governing you all your life have not been your own. Well, I'm that disruptor that will stop all of that and assist you to do it. And assist you to embody loving power and loving principles for your own being first. And allow that to be the governance of your being. Because that's the only thing that should be governing your being. Literally. Honestly. You know, everything happens in spirit first. And we're energetically influenced all the time, even for your experience. So what do I mean? Without your soul embodying your avatar, which is your rental car for your experience, like I like to call it, well, guess what? You're out of the game. What's the game? The game of life. Well, are you allowing the game of life to be your power and principle, or are you allowing what's fueling you to be your power and principle? You better check that. Not even a joke. You got to check that. You got it. Why? Because it will be life-changing for you. Look at that. Do not drink poison. Okay? Do not drink poison. Do not do things you know are bad for you. Well, if people's thinking when it comes to you has been governing your life, so what your parents made you to believe about yourself, what, you know, all of that has to go. Because it's stealing from your truest power. And your truest power is fueling all of that into your life. And if you don't rid yourself from all of the shackles of the past, I promise you, it's governing you. Literally. Manage to be glad. Create your own happiness, regardless of conditions. You see that? Spirit's assisting you all this morning. Guys, it's not a joke. You know, there are so many people unaware by choice. And they stay delusional by choice. Being totally governed by the powers and principalities that are not loving. Well, you don't have to choose that for yourself. Nor do you have to choose that for others. But the biggest thing is to not choose it for you. Literally, okay? Because the minute you choose it for you, you've chosen to drink that poison of it. Literally. Any other messages before I put this deck down? Because if not, put it away. I felt that there were messages for you, and I pulled out those two. And you know what? Okay. Two are good. Choices. Feeling blocked, restrained. You guys have some choices. You don't have to continue to feel blocked or restrained. I'm here to help. Assisted by the Most High. Oh, and again, manage to be glad. See, these two cards were pushing out because I was about to put out. Create your own happiness, regardless of conditions. Guys, half of you would have never survived the conditions or would have had to live. Literally. I know that. My boss tells me that. My boss tells me, Toby, you're one of my strongest troopers. And I believe that. I believe that. There's not too many that can come back from total organ failure or refuse amputation of hand and foot and actually heal it. There's not too many that can have literally flesh-eating disease all over their body, aside from these times, and close the holes and master healing the way I've done, clean karma the way I have, and actually gone back generations to clean up karmic justice also. Not too many can do it on purpose with intention. Well, I had to. Yeah. For this birthing a new earth, and to be the spiritual wayshower that I am, to show you all the way back to love. Yeah. And embodying love for yourself will bring you back home. Guaranteed. Well, guys, I love you all. And I encourage you all to look at the powers and principalities governing your life. What do you believe to be true about you? Because that's all that matters. But every one of those belief systems about you and that self-identity that you are trying so hard to protect, all of that has to go to embody your fullest potential of your being. Then from there you can construct and create who you genuinely want to be in this world, no matter what the conditions. I love you all. Have a great day. Peace.